Hey, this is Nick, the Mining Book Guy, and today is the morning of March 2nd, 2017, and this will be the Orca Gold series video number 4. And if this is your first time seeing my channel, or even the first time hearing about Orca, you don't need to go back through my other videos, but there are a lot of details there. I'll immediately say that the main focus of this video is going to be on the exciting exploration potential in the Ivory Coast, but I do want to start with a couple excellent resources, and honestly, these resources that are more focused on the main Sudan project are actually the two best that I've found anywhere. So if you're new, or whether you're new or not, you should definitely check these out. This first one is from metalsnews.com, which is kind of a busy looking site. I think that could be improved, but they have excellent interviews. And this is the best interview I've seen with the company. It's with Richard Clark, the CEO, and you'll see it's a long form. There are so many great details here that are pretty much completely focused on Sudan, but you get great history, and I absolutely recommend you read it if you have time. If you didn't have too much time, though, and you just wanted the best resource, this is it. This is actually from my friend Jay at the fivefighter.com website. He just did an awesome job really going over all the key points, at least up until a month or two ago when this was written. And I mean, it's just really well written. It's your best one resource for really kind of like getting, picking up on Orca, knowing what it's about, and you'll be all set basically with this and with the Rick Clark interview. But moving forward, this is a kind of an interesting segue. So it's great that Fabi at TheNextBigRush just published this video from her her YouTube channel was actually recorded between me and Jay and Fabi back in early December. But it's amazing timing, because I'll tell you, I know that Orca Gold is at the BMO conference right now, or they were at it the last couple days, and that they're now going to Eric Mushinsky's The Gold Investment Letter. He runs that newsletter. That was actually the focus of the Orca number 3 video that I made. Well, that's happening right now, and so that's interesting on timing, but then Fabi just happened to release this today, and at the end of this video, I kind of talk about how, Orca kind of checks so many of the boxes, even for what Fabi says she's interested in for a stock. And I'm not trying to, force this stock onto anyone, but all the things I just said. Honestly, I can't believe the market cap's only 42 million right now. And to reiterate, so it's 37.5 cents before the open this morning. My cost average is probably around 42 cents now. I did buy more shares at 39.5, but we need to really emphasize, 42 million. This is definitely in my sweet spot. I talked about in the video with Fabi that under 50 million really gets me interested in exploration type assets. Keep in mind the company still has 7 or 8 million in cash. This is all in Canadian, so enterprise value we're close to like 35 million. And I'm going to go to so now we're talking about Ivory Coast. I guess there's a couple things here. One, I had an excellent call with Elina Chow, who is investor relations for Orca. It was the best call I've had with her so far. It was just last week. And I think there's a few things I can't share, but I think she brought up an excellent point, what everyone should think about, and we'll get a little more into this in a second. Orca was all about Sudan up until the news release about a month ago, where Orca was going into the Ivory Coast or Cote d'Ivoire. And by the way, I'm just going to use Ivory Coast from now on, but those are completely interchangeable. It depends on what part of the world you're in. This was a game changer for all the reasons I described here. This is the Orca room. This was a post I did. A lot of people are still not following this. But to Alina's point, I totally buy into this. You can actually think about Orca where you're getting a huge amount of value from these Ivory Coast assets, and you could legitimately say at a 35 million enterprise value that Orca is fairly valued because those assets are so exciting. And the original focus, the Sudan development project, with an MPV over 100 million, which is a really good looking project, you're getting that part for free. And that's kind of insane to think about. I can't think of anything else, that fits that value. But there's another reason I'm bringing this up, and this goes into this really cool. So this was a core shack. I don't know if any of you saw it. I'm sure that some of my subscribers saw this. This was really cool with a bunch of newsletter writers where they could, talk on CEO.ca or answer questions and, talk about things they're interested in. I was very lucky because Tommy, who runs CEO.ca, put me in as a kind of a moderator, and I wasn't planning to do anything. But as the core shack was winding down, it seemed like some more questions should be answered. I had a question about Orca. I thought that that was worth asking, along with some other ones, because those there was interest shown from other people at CEO.ca. So I brought up Orca. This is what you're seeing here is just a little bit of dialogue. Brent Cook here, and then Joe Mazumdar, who wrote Exploration Insights, an excellent newsletter. Even though I don't have a paid subscription, I try to get as much info as I can from it. I think this is really telling. I can tell Brent's not a fan of Sudan. That's fine. I tried to make a comment. I actually don't think Turkey is much better than Sudan right now. But Joe made an interesting point that Newmont's in Sudan. Okay, we can say no matter what, there is some interest in Sudan. This is not some off the wall jurisdiction. But let's ignore Sudan and see. Brent says Ivory Coast interesting. That's another reason I brought up Mariana. Mariana Resources has some exploration assets there. I know that Brent and Joe are on board with Ivory Coast. That's the important part here. One thing I expect, or I guess I think that's important to express, I don't think anyone has looked closely at these assets yet, except for Orca themselves. And another great point that Elina made, and I'm on the Orca PowerPoint website. This says February, so this is really cool. This this PowerPoint was literally just updated in the last 24 hours because I've been checking, and I think it was updated for this little presentation that Eric Mushinsky is going to do with Orca, for subscribers. By the way, I'm not affiliated with that at all. I've just been following it through his free gold investment letter. But the point I'm trying to make is that this Ivory Coast stuff is new to everybody else, but these assets, at least some of them, were originally Redback Minings, where Hugh Stuart was running exploration, and Hugh Stuart is currently running Orca exploration and actually has experience with this. So even though many of these assets are completely new, this one specifically, Morando, is more advanced than even I realized. And I didn't read the original news release that carefully, but this PowerPoint tells us even more. I'm gonna hit on that again in a sec. I need to get back up here. Let's see. I have all these windows. I'm just gonna go through a couple new points in the PowerPoint. We're gonna go back to Sudan really quickly. Regardless of what you think of Sudan, this was key news. U.S. Treasury Department lifts sanctions on Sudan. That happened, a couple months ago. What you need to know here is that absolutely North American interest is going to be larger, especially U.S. interest, than if this didn't happen. So whatever you feel about Trump, don't worry about hearing negativity on Sudan so much as things are getting better. There's no doubt about that in my mind. Now, going back forward, okay, Ivory Coast. All of these little colors you see here, this is all new Orca stuff. It seems a little complicated, but again, Morando is one that's a little more advanced, and I intuitively thought these were more exciting. Like these red ones, those are probably going to be worked on first. These came through Kinross, and these are Orca applying on their own. Now, I'm going to show you the most valuable thing in this whole video right now. Let's bring this up. So this is from a really cool Randgold exploration focused PowerPoint. Randgold has a lot of PowerPoints, and it took me a little while to find this, but this is so valuable because it shows you where in Cote d'Ivoire or Ivory Coast, this is where Randgold's main focus, and they've been on record saying this, they are looking, at the Democratic Republic of Congo as well, but Ivory Coast, definitely a main focus for that next big discovery. And look where most of their land is. They do have some JVs down here, but this is the main area, and you can see Tongan right there. I'm going to go back and forth really quick a couple times. Like, this is the main mine. Notice this Mancano. Notice this Kouassi. Three different areas. This is so key. I love this is a tip. Always try to look at these maps because most other people, even professionals, they're not up to speed on this. Around Tongan, like, this is very key that Orca has this. Look at this Morando and these Orca applications all around that other area that Randgold's in. And then look at this right next to another area Randgold's in. I think this is huge. I'm sure that there's a strategic reason for this. This is huge. Orca is absolutely set up to, I'm not saying they're going to get acquired by Randgold, but they are hitting on all the main interesting areas that Randgold is in. And for sure, this is the most interesting area. I could go on and on about this, but I'm super excited just that Orca has set themselves up so well. And again, with the current market cap, I think that it's absolutely justified. And to go even a little further, this is another awesome part of this new PowerPoint. I did not see this until last night. There are a lot of good intersections. Again, this was with Redback back in 2000, or before it got acquired by Kinross. I think 2010. The only reason Orca wasn't working, or Redback didn't work on this any further, is because they got acquired for other assets that were much more advanced in like Tasiast in Mauritania and some good stuff in Ghana. These are good intersections. I mean, these are long intersections, and there's this great picture. And this another side note. I'm not a geologist. I don't understand a lot of technicals, but I think I understand enough, and you could understand enough to interpret this. You're seeing top of fresh rock here. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure that all this upper stuff is going to be oxide ore, which is going to be pretty easy to get out of the ground. It's near surface. You don't have to worry as much about the metallurgy. And we're seeing lots of nice intersections that are about 1 gram per ton, which is really good. We haven't seen any of the deeper drilling yet, and that's super exciting that we're going to get to that. And this is a wide area of mineralization, and I'm not sure if this is enough, but I think this is a very good early metallurgical number for fresh rock. So you can look at this on your own time, but you absolutely need to know about this if you're interested in the Ivory Coast side of Orca, because this is super exciting. I'm telling you, this is the type of area where we're talking multi-million ounces. We're talking maybe 5 or 10 million ounce potential on any of these, because Ivory Coast is the land of elephants. And if you saw the image I have on this YouTube video, the elephant is kind of the official mascot of Ivory Coast, and elephant deposits is what we're looking for. And I've mentioned this to other people on CEO.ca, but I love looking for the places where you can find huge deposits, and this is one of my 3 big areas around the world. I actually like Guyana for Alicanto Minerals, which I've owned for a while, and I like Orion in Finland, which has already had a big move, but people are starting to realize that. Well, I think Ivory Coast absolutely fits into that, so I think I'll leave that section there for now, but you must think about the Randgold PowerPoint. I'll have a link on that below. Think about this Orca PowerPoint, and it tells you a lot. One other thing on Ivory Coast, which is exciting, a shout out to @Bullionaire, who is on CEO.ca and who shared this article, which got me thinking. This is not only is this neat because there was this new Fraser Institute survey, which is pretty well respected in the industry, but this article specifically talks about interest in Africa. And I was scrolling down, and then I saw, Cote d'Ivoire, Ivory Coast, Botswana, and Ghana all ranked pretty highly. And then I did a little further search, and I'm not an expert on this, but this is going to turn some heads. This is actually the ranking for 2016. And you start looking down, and then you see, holy cow, Ivory Coast in between Newfoundland, Labrador, and Ontario, and it's the number one African country. Now, I am kind of skeptical of the Fraser Institute without even fully knowing the factors that go into it, but this absolutely is going to turn some heads. It's number one in Africa. I don't know where it was last year, but people are absolutely going to start paying attention to Ivory Coast as a good jurisdiction. And I mean, I've heard about, I know Botswana's known to be good and Ghana's known to be good, but most people don't think of Ivory Coast as up here. And you know, another reason I'm kind of skeptical of this is because I like Mali and I like Burkina, and I mean, maybe they are this much further down, but I don't think of them as being that much further down than Ivory Coast. But keep in mind, these African countries are all ahead of a lot of South American ones like Peru and Chile. And then this is kind of weird, but there's a bunch of these Argentina, you know, regional areas. I'm just bringing that up because so many people are really interested in Latin American countries and they completely ignore African. And so this is a great first indicator for a lot of people. Okay, I need to pay attention to Africa because it's not so bad. So this is not only great for Ivory Coast, but it's great for a lot of other African areas. And if you want to learn more about this, I created a bunch of country rooms a while ago, and other people have created some since. But Ivory Coast is one where I've mostly been the only person contributing. But I want to give a shout out to @Excelsior, who's been the one other person who's been a huge contributor to African countries. Not everything is good. I mean, you can scroll up in this room. Again, I'll have a link below. But there's a couple posts I made about some issues with the army in Ivory Coast wanting back pay or wanting pay for, you know, there's a lot of tension in the army. That's not a good sign. It doesn't mean it's going to fall apart by any means, but it's something to be aware of. But regardless of what you see on the geopolitical side, there's no doubt about it. The big guys are moving into Ivory Coast, not just Randgold, which is a huge mover. But if there's two other companies you absolutely want to check out, it's Endeavour Mining and Perseus Mining. So I'd say those three are the big guys you want to check out. And Orca is your pick on the TSXV. If you want something that's got exploration exposure, you could look at Mariana, but I'm not going to get into the reasons why Orca is easily a better pick for the focus of Ivory Coast, but it is your pick. There's a couple ASX listed plays, but I would still pick Orca over all of them. So this is your Ivory Coast play. And then one other thing on Excelsior, he helps me with this Africa room, which is panel, and I tried to take advantage of the panels to have this very specific, somewhat specific focused talk that is, you know, relatively high quality. I wish more people contributed. The focus is Africa and gold, but really anything Africa related is fine. I just wanted to say, you know, if you haven't been on CEO.ca, or if you have, either way, you might not be aware of this room. You can definitely check it out. Like, anyone can check it out, but if you'd like to contribute, you know, send me a message either by email or on CEO.ca, and I will definitely, you know, let you participate. I'll even show you. There's this list of people involved, but not too many people participate. This is the type of thing that helps you find opportunities like Orca, or you know, some other ones in emerging countries around the world, whether it's Ivory Coast or Sudan or other places. So I just wanted to be clear about other ways you can help yourself learn about these things. But Ivory Coast, exciting. Orca, exciting. There'll be more videos coming out soon, but hopefully you do a little bit of research on your own. And if you don't own any Orca shares right now, this is an excellent time to consider, you know, opening position. You should always do your own due diligence, but it is absolutely in my top, you know, 3 or 4 picks, and it's continuing to be, especially at these levels. So this was Nick, the Mining Book Guy. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe, and hope you enjoyed. Thanks. Bye.